We probably all have that friend or family member that keeps making the same fucking mistakes, either with their money or their relationships. And everybody else knows exactly what the fuck's going on, but they won't have it. They don't want to hear it. They just argue. And so people just stop wasting their time even trying to explain it to this person. We all know this person. We're just like, we're over it because they don't want to hear it. But it's obvious to everyone but them what the fuck they are doing. Well, to that person, you can't really help them until they're willing to help themselves. And very often, if you try to force that truth on them, they spend all of their energy just trying to fight that that's who they are, which is totally counterproductive. Okay, so that being said, for me, I work with values. My values in order, truth is number one. Truth is an interesting one because, one, at best, we can asymptotically approach truth. Meaning, I don't know that in human form that we ever arrive at capital T truths. And the reason for that is, by design, we are highly subjective creatures. We don't see an objective world. We see our world. And our world is created by our stories, our experience, our memories, and everything else. So it's hard to pursue objective truth as a human because it's hard to filter through our own subjectivity. So far, so good. But the goal is to, in earnest, pursue it as honestly as you can. In order to do that, you have to be willing to surrender what you think you know for something that is clearly superior. So at best, you're surrendering lowercase truths for higher lowercase truths in percent of an uppercase truth. The difference between a lowercase truth and an uppercase truth? An uppercase truth, generally, this is why I operate in principle and concept, and the guys who've been around for a while, you'll notice I often answer in principle instead of a high direction answer, because I want you to understand the principle behind the decision. Because if you get the principle, then I don't have to explain anything. If you get why 2 + 2 = 4, we never have to have that conversation again. Then you know why 3 + 3 = 6, and so on, right? Just basic fucking arithmetic. If you only know it because I say so, like how awkward would that be if you walked around, somebody was like, you're like 2 + 2 = 4, and you're like, how do you know that? And you're like, my first grade teacher. I'm like, you know how many fucking people are doing that in their life though right now? About a whole bunch of other shit, from God to their body to money. They only believe it because somebody else is saying it. Not to mention 82.6% of the current population is simply a cultural zeitgeist, MBC. So that creates all sorts of other problems. Integration of truth in pursuit, a lowercase truth would be your subjective experience. An uppercase truth would be something that is superior to your subjective experience. Meaning whether you see it that way or not, it is true. So there are principles that operate outside of our subjectivity, which is why I try to operate from principle. Because if somebody gets the principle, then you're good. That being said, there's always going to be an element of subjectivity because the human experience is subjective, right? Two people could do the same ride. I think of my kids when I took them on the Incredicoaster the first time. They were on the same fucking ride. They were sitting in the same seats right next to each other, right? But had completely different experiences. The objective world was exactly the same. They were on the same fucking ride doing the exact same fucking thing at the exact speed, the same everything. Totally different experiences. Why? Their internal world, their subjective experience was completely different. One of them was like, let's run that shit back again. The other one was like, Dad, I don't think I can do that again. That was scary. That's the subjectivity of the human experience. Now, science tries to solve for this, and I'm a huge fan of science as what it actually is, but science is also highly subjective because it still involves humans, which is why there are things that we believed that was scientifically proven 50 years ago that we're like, oh, actually, my bad, that isn't true anymore. Anymore? I thought it was science, right? As if science is this great objective metric, which, some people would hate to hear me say that, but as long as there's humans involved, there is a subjectivity even to science, because we still see things through our own subjective filter.